and grow up together. Right.
Yes.
So it was kind of cool because we are school aged children friends. And then I think we became better friends as adult women, which is really cool. And for me, I ran into Katherine at our 10-year reunion and actually had a really nice conversation. And we really just kind of synced up on where we were in our lives. And then I ran into her once at our church. You remember Denver DCC? And you were there in Wash Park?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, hey, what are you doing? And then our paths have just kind of randomly crossed in life. And now on social, I feel like we've just connected the most in where we are in our lives and what we're doing and what matters to us. And I was like, we got to get you on the show because she's doing remarkable things. So that's our backstory, which I will happily share that again. Oh, are we already recording?
Yeah, I hit record the second you started talking. I did record.
Matt's pretty good about doing that. He senses when Anne's just going to go and take off. And so he just hits record and here we are. So anyway, we got that intro on camera, which is great because I wanted everybody to know how long I've known Katherine. So Katherine, do you want to be called Kat or Katherine?
You can call me Katherine. Yeah.
Katherine. Okay, great. And so Katherine, welcome to the OnlyFounders show. We're here. We're doing it. Matt and I started this, 8 weeks ago we launched. So it's a fresh, brand new podcast series all about the stuff founders should be talking about. Behind the curtain, it's a peek behind the curtain of founder life as people, as business owners, as founders of really cool things. It's an explicit show, so if you like to cuss, as I do, you may. And we just talk about everything raw and real that makes us humans. And so we talk about all the things that we're passionate about, all the things that we found. And Matt usually has a good devil's advocate perspective and challenges a lot, but he also is really passionate about a lot and asks really great, deep questions. So far, it's been a great talk show, and that's kind of the premise.
You guys have only been doing this 8 weeks.
Yeah.
I was listening to some of your, first of all, your professionalism. I mean, I've probably done 100 podcasts, maybe more.
I've seen, yeah.
And, your professionalism, the things that you've done to help the guest prepare, and then even just the details of, hey, give us a rating before, because you want them to actually listen to you guys, which, to be totally honest, I would have not listened to you at all. I just don't really have time for that. But I made time for it because you asked me to. So
that's awesome.
Congratulations, guys. This is it says a lot about you as professionals. And like I said, I've done so many of these, and that's the type of stuff that will, make you stand out, truly.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
So on the application, it was Matt's idea to have you listen and do a review. And I loved it because it was almost like, if you're going to be here and engage and listen to the show, because there are a lot of founders that might not be comfortable doing this kind of format because we do get into deeper stuff. This is not another business podcast. This is we get into shit. We want to know about people in depth and layers. And there's not, there are some founders that would be off limits for. That's why we asked in your application, what's off limits? Because we don't want to go there, but we will dig. And that's what makes this show amazing. So thank you for your feedback, because we're really passionate about it. And our podcast, a little backstory, because I don't know, Matt, if we've ever shared this, but Matt and I were connected last year. And we hit it off, and we would have these virtual calls because he's in Houston and I'm in Denver. And we would have these virtual chats, and they would just go on for hours. And we just loved talking to each other because we're so different as business brains and as humans, but we connect on so many levels that it was like that work chemistry from the start that we were like, I just want to talk more to you. It was like craving that intellectual conversation at the founder level. And we kept finding ourselves scheduling these calls, and we both want to develop our thought leadership platform at the time. And we said, let's just start a podcast. Let's just do it.
Brilliant.
And this is really self-serving for us. We're like, we don't care if people listen to us. We don't care if it grows. We just want to do this for us to connect every week and talk because we love it. And then we ended up partnering with a podcast accelerator team to help us launch it and get it off the ground. And here we are 8 months later, and we're 8 weeks into it, and we're just loving it. We just try to produce 2 episodes a week, and that's where we are. So you're like our third guest, Katherine.
I love it. I love it. That's incredible. I love being a part of something when you're taking off, being like one of the founding members. I think it's so incredible. Do you see the delay in my video, or is it just me?
It was just, you're fine. I think you're good.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Matt says usually this software itself, like the actual meeting that we're in, will have delays, but the recording of it is always good.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because like it'll do like the lowest quality for the meeting, but then when I hit download, it's like the super high res 4K video.
Amazing.
I could hear everything.
Yeah, well, my dogs all have peanut butter Kongs and are in my bedroom. So let's just pray for silence and nobody to walk by my house.
I love
the
that.
corner house. Oh man.
Well, let's get started. So, Kat, tell us a little bit about yourself. I'm really interested in hearing you and your story.
For sure. Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be able to, connect with other like-minded individuals, and just to feel like, my story may potentially help somebody. That's my goal. I pray every morning, God, just let me help one person today. HOPE, help one person every day. And, I'm from Colorado. Me and Miss Ann grew up in the same neighborhood. We went to elementary school together, and I had a really beautiful childhood. My family's amazing. I came from 2 working class parents. My mom was a teacher. My dad was like a general contractor. And, I had a really beautiful childhood. The weird thing about some of the things we're going to talk about today is I also have alcoholism, which means that I have this like weird mental illness, which I do believe is genetic and is a mental illness that tells me that things aren't okay. It tells me that there's something wrong with me. And it's like this weird voice in the back that's like, you're never enough, and I have to like fill this hole. And a lot of people will say, that sounds like just like the basic human condition, but when I had like this very like overwhelming feeling as a little girl that I never belonged. I just really struggled to fit in with friend groups. I was very good at, being in lots of different groups because it allowed me to be about an inch deep, right, but a mile wide. And, I had no idea that when I found alcohol at 13, that it really, truly helped me shut my brain off, and I felt okay. And I feel like that's not really indicative of a lot of 13-year-olds. Like it just felt like this is how I want to live. And this is, the way that I just am able to cope with life. And so from about 13 to 18, I went to high school, and, Ann and I were athletes, and we had like incredible, opportunities where we were. And I was part of like the varsity cheer squad and was incredibly dedicated to that. But I had this like secret life of drinking. And it wasn't.
Wait, you were drinking even like in like teenage years?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And
I had no clue, by the way. I grew up with Katherine, and I had no clue.
Yeah. So, we really, we had a very strict no drinking policy. We weren't even allowed to go to like parties where there was alcohol. Our coaches were incredibly, they had a lot of integrity, and their goal for us was they were trying to protect our reputation. And so they didn't want us going to parties. They didn't want us holding hands with boys in the hallway. They would say things like, if your parents were watching you when you're alone with your boyfriend, would they be okay with what you're doing? I mean, they really, really tried to protect, Anne was in dance, I was in cheer, and they wanted to make it a sport. Right.
I was going to say, I was also in Palms. And so we always did games together too. We were around each other often. And our coaches were the same. Palms dance team and cheer were athletes. And when you are in uniform on game day at school, you do not get in trouble. You don't stretch any of the rules. You don't hold hands with boys. You don't kiss boys in the hallway. Like, it was very, very strict. Our school was really an elite high school. I mean, my Palms team won state when I was on the team. Like, we crushed, right? Like, we were highly esteemed athletes. So yeah, I agree. I hear all of this. You're taking me back, Katherine. I'm like, oh my gosh. Our coaches were like our parents. It was crazy. And they wanted us to not be those girls that are often the cheer team and the dance team in high school of, the easy girls or the girls that have the reputation. They're like, we are athletes and you wear this uniform proud and you do not mess around. And I was on the other side of the spectrum where I didn't drink until college and I had a promise ring and I wasn't doing anything promiscuous, and all my friends didn't tell me anything about their lives in high school because I was that Christian girl with the promise ring that followed all the rules and never went to parties and was terrified of anything whatsoever that existed in the world because I was raised in a bubble.
So I was just saying, from about 13 to 18, I learned also that like achievements got me recognition. I grew up in a home where, my parents did the best that they could. They loved me so much and they were incredible providers. But when it came to, they both came from military homes, and like for them, recognition came from achievements. And so that's kind of what I learned. And so, I was in Future Business Leaders of America. I was in a lot of advanced placement classes, and I also loved to work out and be an athlete. So I was like kind of in those groups also. But the underlying, you're never enough, this isn't okay. And then like this secret life of like drinking. And then I found weed at like 15. And, to help you understand like the depths of this obsession with drugs and alcohol is like cheerleading was my entire life. Like I was the varsity captain for all 4 years. It was everything to me. And I knew that even if my coach got a hint of any of that I would not only, be demoted, I would be kicked off. Like that life would be taken from me. But I just had I mean, that's how desperate I was to feel okay. It wasn't just partying on the weekends to be rebellious. Like I truly have this like soul sickness that, I didn't understand until my later years, but I'm also a highly sensitive individual. My mom and dad were kind of taught, don't talk about feelings. I think that's very normal for their generation, right? It's just like, hey, if we don't talk about it, it's not here. And I came out of my mom's womb like a freaking raw nerve. I feel everything. I want to talk about everything. I am sensitive. I am, like I am totally opposite. And then I came, I'm in a home that my parents, just don't really believe in that kind of stuff. So it was really tough. And alcohol made things calm down and made things a lot better,
So it was like in your teens, it was more like an escape a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and then it became a way of life. It wasn't like just escaping on the weekends and, like it was like, smoking weed before school. And I was my friends, I was the wild one. Like I would be smoking weed by myself, like just very odd behavior, especially for somebody who appeared to have it all together, right?
You were
Like,
highly functioning. I will tell you that. You were so highly functioning. I don't think anyone on the outside would notice it. I was
right.
going to ask you, were you drinking before games and doing cheer,
Mm-mm.
drunk? Okay.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Got it. Got it.
No.
So that kept you away from it
Yeah, it
because
was. And
okay.
I mean, come on, that would have been,
Dangerous.
yeah. But I definitely after games, I would come to practice so hungover.
Hmm.
My coach was like, you know, they would know. And it's so funny because like she's still alive. Like I could totally ask her. But
Yeah.
I just I have no idea. I have no idea if they knew. But my whole like life was a lie. It was just this double life.
How
And
did you get access to drugs and alcohol at those like teen years? What
yeah,
was your outlet?
yeah. So my brother was 4 years older, is 4 years older. So sometimes he would buy alcohol for me.
Hmm.
And then I had older friends who had fake IDs. And I also
Yeah.
did a lot of partying with people from other schools. So I never
Hmm.
really um, I liked to keep it, kind of light because I could, our coaches, I don't know if your Mrs. G worked at Grandview, but,
She does now. She's been there for like 30 years.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
She was.
my coach worked there, right? So like she couldn't catch wind of anything.
Yeah,
And I remember I was kind of bullied in high school by some upperclassmen, females.
yeah,
And I've never talked about this because it's not really relevant, but you went there.
yeah,
Um, and just like basic stuff, but they were super mean.
yeah.
We had a weird dynamic because we only started with freshman and sophomore, and all of a sudden like these little sophomores that were or freshmen who were getting bullied at like Eagle Crest and Smoky Hill are now the big dogs in our school, and they literally I don't know, they were demonic. Like they were literally like some of the meanest humans, and which is like part of growing up. But it's like I have such a
Yeah.
heart for people who like get bullied because it really really impacts. You're so young. Like high school is hard enough, like to need like the added trauma of like they would key my car, my house would get egged every weekend.
Oh, wow.
um
Jeez.
it was,
Wow.
and my parents were like, "What are you doing to these girls?" And I'm like,
And you're like nothing.
literally, because they're upperclassmen guys may have a crush on me, like and my parents would get so angry with me, and I'm like, "What the fuck?"
You're not
Like,
doing anything. You're
yeah,
existing.
yeah,
I had a very similar experience to you. I didn't experience bullying to that level, but I experienced a lot of the similar things for similar reasons that you did as well.
yeah,
And so I see you in that, and I appreciate you sharing that because I do
yeah.
think those years are hard enough. And I also too was very much bounced around in groups. We were very similar. We just didn't know.
Isn't that
It
wild?
wasn't our time to find each other, I guess. But I was
Yeah,
very much a part of every group, an inch deep, mile wide. I had a very traumatic upbringing. I did not come from a good family. And I just dissociated a lot. So the way I could just keep my distance and just do me, and high achieving, conditional formatted home, there are conditions. You perform well and you get love and acceptance, and
yes.
you don't, and what the fuck is wrong with you? And it's raising these people pleasers that we had to break free from as adult women. But
Well,
given
there's
our
speaking my language.
yeah, all of the things that you're saying is resonating deep with me. And
Yeah.
having women who are older, for me in college, I'm going to go here because this is what we talk about on the show. Matt, you're in for it. But I dated Black and white men as I was raised, and it didn't matter. I don't really see color in that way. And so I experienced a lot of what Katherine's saying from both the Black community and Black females who didn't appreciate Black men having an interest in me.
Yep.
And I had a lot of that conflict, I will say, as I was like growing up and dating men, and also from women who were older than me, because I dated a lot older. When I was 13, I had a 17-year-old boyfriend. And I wasn't allowed to date until I was 16, but
Yeah.
I was raised by a single mom who was doing her best.
Yeah.
And she would drive us to the movies, even though he could drive. And he still like agreed to
Did
date
she not
me.
know how old he was?
She knew, but she's
Oh.
like, no, you're not allowed to drive her anywhere, because she's technically not allowed to, but we were hanging out. I don't know how that worked, but she would drive us like on our dates, even though he had a license. So it was, we don't have to go there, but that's just a reference of a depth point of how mean girls can be to girls.
Yep.
How mean boys can be to girls, how mean everybody can be mean, to everybody growing up. And our experience, it shapes us. And it is something that we get stronger for. And when you experience that, it's really fascinating. But I'm just guessing that given that experience, that also drove you to drink and numb and smoke and just get away from all of that, because that's really the high trauma for that age girl.
Well, we all have a couple of things. Maybe it's because I'm a little younger, but interracial dating was pretty normal when I grew up. It was not taboo or anything. So I am 35.
Okay, not that much younger, but
you guys, I think you guys were
41?
probably
41. Yeah. Are you 41?
Yeah.
You're 42 soon, aren't you? Because are you the baby of the grade or older? I thought you were older.
Yeah, I'm 42 in December.
Yes, and I'm 42 in June next year. Okay. So Matt, interracial dating was fine.
Yeah, well, I guess our age isn't that big, but in high school, you always think of generations of every 4 years. So if you were 5 years ahead, I would have never seen you in high school, because only goes from 9 through 12. Right. So I kind of consider that as there's another wave of generation, usually every 4 years in a high school. And interracial dating, I think when I was in ninth grade, it was still people were talking about, and then by the time I was in 12th grade, no one cared. No one cared at all.
Interesting. Yeah. I do think we were kind of on the beginning wave of it not being a thing, but our parents' generation, it was still kind of a thing. I didn't even realize my parents had some unresolved racism just from the way they were raised. It's not, this is no fault to theirs. Until I brought my first Black boyfriend home and go, oh, this is a thing. Okay.
And they come
Let's
from
talk about it.
Yeah, it's so there. Yeah. The other point that I had with drugs and alcohol is I think it just goes in the root of escapism, and I don't think you go in your teens without some type of an outlet to say hey, okay, I'm tired of this world. I need to go to a different world. Because in one way, Katherine, you mentioned it's a double life, but how many people aren't living a double life in those adolescent years, right? It just so happens your other life was something that society really doesn't like. If you go to Japan, you go to Singapore, you go to China, everyone drinks and smokes. There's maybe not weed, but it doesn't matter. It's I think weed might be healthier than cigarettes. People are doing that in their teens, and then they carry them over 20, 30, 40, 50, and they don't care. So I don't know. I think it's also culture related too. It's you need some type of I think everyone needs an outlet, but whether drugs and alcohol are negative, I think it just depends in the culture as well, whether it's viewed as a negative thing or not.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That is an interesting perspective. And for me, my vice was literally dissociating. And that's what I did as a child in my own home. So I just continued to dissociate through high school. I literally connected with a friend of mine from when we were 11, 12. Okay. This is church youth group days.
Okay.
And we had this coffee chat, and he goes, Ann, you don't remember this camp? And he painted the whole picture for me of I was very present and I was very involved in this memory. I had no fucking clue. I was like, Justin, I don't remember what you're talking about. He's like, you don't remember being there? You did this whole thing. And I was like, no clue. And literally I would be in therapy and I'd just be coming into memories and oh my gosh, whoa, like, and so when you can go back to the filing cabinet and you dissociate, I think dissociation has also made my memory horrible as a woman, as an adult. So like I have a really bad memory, especially short term. People are like, don't you remember we talked about that? I'm like, no, I think dissociation does that in your brain where you just don't retain a lot, which is really sad because it's something I'm trying to work through now as a mom. And I'm like, I've had 3 kids. My gray matter is garbage. Like it totally changed. So I'm like, how can I get brain health? Because
Right.
I have a lot of trauma. So it's fascinating. Like I do think as a teen, until you resolve things with your inner child and go back and
Yeah.
heal, I think you're actually, Matt, what you said of having some type of outlet and thing, I think that will carry on well into your adult life as well, until you do the work. And when you say do the work, people are like, what does do the work mean? I'm like, only if you've done the work, you know what do the work means. And so I want to dig in deep about like, so we have this beautiful backstory, right? And this amazing picture you've painted. So Katherine, what I want to know is, what was the moment? What was the thing? How old were you? Where were you in time that you realized, I don't want to do this anymore?
Yeah.
And there was a shift. Like, what did that look like?
Yeah. So, I did a lot of disassociating too, Anne. And I love that you shared that. I really feel like I was at a like major rock bottom when I was like 17, 18, and there was no moment. It was just like a feeling of like, actually, there was a moment when I was going to a DECA event, and my mom,
What's a DECA event? I'm like, I have no idea what that
so
Oh,
is.
you don't have DECA? Oh,
I'm sure we have. I just don't.
Do you remember what it stands for, Anne?
I don't remember what it stands for. I don't remember what it
It's like
stands
Future
for.
Business Leaders of America, where you like you do these projects and you go on these like weekend trips and you compete. Well, I was so fucking hungover, and my mom has to drive me to the bus stop, and I'm just literally like in the I am just like about to throw up, and she's like, and I'm like, have the seat all the way back, and drinking wasn't okay at my home. Like my parents did not like it. They weren't okay with it. They were just like, this is not okay. What are you doing? Are you going to make anything with your life? Like, what are you really like trying to do? Like my mom's like, you're going to go to college next year and you're not going to live. Like you are not going to survive. And it was like, holy shit, she's right. And I'm like this in the side door, and I just want her to stop talking, especially because it was making so much sense, and so I knew at that moment that she was right. It was like there was like this moment of clarity, like shit, dude. And also I hated living with them. They were such helicopter parents. They tried to control me. They tried their best. I was literally, I got a tattoo at like 17. I got we were not allowed to have piercings on the cheer team. I got my belly button pierced when I was 16, and it was like, so, I mean, I just was doing all these things to act out and rebel, and my, excuse me, my parents were they had no idea how to handle me. And so I was like, dude, if I don't get this, I will be back here with them, and it's going to be a nightmare. And they were, that was like the moment that I was like, okay, well, if I don't figure this out, I'll be right back here when I'm 19, when I'm 20. And there was nothing that scared me more than to have to continue to live under their house, because all I wanted was freedom,
Katherine, I had the same thing. I didn't have, my parents were pretty chill, I think. I don't think they were like controlling or anything, but I hated living at home. And I had the same moment. I don't know where it was. It was like the second I was 18, like I need to leave and I need to never come back. And I thought of the same thing. I was like, I need to make sure I survive and make a ton of money, do whatever it takes just to never come back home. And I don't know,
my
I'm
experience,
not sure why, but yeah.
I hated living at home also, but also home was like my my cave, my room, because I'm a Cancer and I absolutely loved my room, but it was constantly invaded and my boundaries were not respected in my home. So I wanted to leave.
Yeah.
But I was the do-gooder who actually had all of those rules and followed them, because I saw my older sister not follow those rules and behave more like you, Catherine. And she got the shit beaten out of her. And she was like, it was a very abusive home. But I also like witnessed a lot of that where she was constantly at odds with my dad and my mom when they were together. And then when they were divorced, my mom, just the battles with my sister of raising us, and my mom could not handle either of us. And I knew who I was at the time, but I did not let her shine through, because God forbid I would, not be loved or favored or verbally abused, emotionally abused. And then my sister was physically with my dad before they divorced and he moved out. We had restraining orders, and my dad would show up at school. I don't know if you knew any of this, but my dad used to stalk us. And so we had restraining orders and he wasn't allowed at high school, but he would show up and just stand behind me, like after theater performances and stuff. It was really creepy.
No,
So
I
that
had
was
no
my
idea.
hell that I was growing up in. But I witnessed my older sister behave very much like you, Catherine. And I was the little baby of the family going, I'm going to
Yeah.
stay in my lane. I'm going to
Yeah.
people please. And I'm going to just get the favor. And I was the favorite one. And my sister hated me. And my sister trickled down some abuse to me because I stayed away and was favored, and she hated that. So that's kind of the dynamic I'm so willing and healthily able to share with everybody now, that I didn't do any of those things, and you guys are both coming from these homes you want to get out of. Me too, but I got out of it for freedom to then go to college, to then do all the things that you're doing.
Right.
I mean, my freshman year I was like an alcoholic. I don't even remember being there. I drank so much. I made all my own decisions. I blacked out. I don't even know how God kept me alive my freshman year of college. To be honest, I went off the deep end quite a bit. So this is fascinating. I love hearing all of our stories.
I know.
This is
I
great.
know. It's so interesting too, because we knew each other, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really talk to anybody from my childhood, and it's just like the dynamics of it. I don't really associate memories, like happy memories, with middle school or high school. Not that I had any serious trauma, but it wasn't like warm and cozy. Like I don't really, there's a few people that, I had good experiences with, but I'd be okay to never, ever, ever, ever go back to that part of my life. And, that brings me to, so my parents taught me that you have to earn everything. And so I worked a lot, and I was a restaurant. I worked at a restaurant called Trail Dust, which I don't know.
You worked at Trail Dust?
Yeah.
I love that.
Loved it. I loved it. It was such a fun job. And there was a guy there who went to Creek, and he was gorgeous and totally my type. Except he was very straight edge and wanted nothing to do with me. And I finally, I was bragging about, the cake parties I was going to, all the upperclassmen, all the, doesn't this kind of make you jealous or curious about me? And he literally stopped me in my tracks and he said, I was like, are you gay? Why aren't you interested in me? I'm so arrogant and egotistical. And he literally said, you're not a Christian. I don't want anything to do with you. And no one had ever said that to me. I had been to church in my, growing up, going to, Easter and Christmas, but it was not a huge part of our life, right? It was more like a tradition. It wasn't like a relationship. And so when he shared that with me, it really was and this was right after my mom had basically said, you're going to wind up right back here if you don't figure out your life. And I was scared to death, and I was searching. And, it was just bam, moment of clarity. And then he said that to me, another moment of clarity of okay, what does that mean? So we were rolling silverware, and I was just what do you mean by that? And he's like, listen, all of the things that you're looking for, all of the party life, the recognition you're trying to get through, boys and alcohol. He's like, Jesus died for your sins, and he loves you so much, and you don't have to do anything to earn his love. you just have to like turn from your ways and ask him to be in your heart. And I was like, but how do I do that? And he like gave me some scriptures. And that night I went home and I dusted off this like old, old King James version. And I just asked Jesus to take over my heart. And he definitely, there was a true transformation. I was very, convicted. I felt the Holy Spirit for the first time. I went back to work the next day and I told him what I did. And he was like, he wasn't like really that impressed. He was like, okay, cool. Well, now, now you got to get into church and now there's action behind that. And so I started to attend, he put me in touch with some women at his church. I didn't know at the time, but he was like the preacher's or pastor's son. And at this little church in Littleton. And so I was like going to church and had a pretty immediate transformation. I felt like I didn't want to drink anymore. All of that stuff was taken away. And then
isn't that amazing, real quick, that God had to get your attention with using the one thing that you were chasing, which was
Right.
approval from men.
Yes.
And he had to use a man that you were desperately seeking
Totally.
that wouldn't give you the time of day to actually
Yes.
wake you up and give you the message that he was trying to connect with you on.
Right.
Like God, I think
he knows
God's sense of humor is hilarious. Yeah. So it's like, here, Catherine, I'm going to actually use your vice of men and alcohol. I'm actually going to use a man to like get your attention and help you wake up. And if that's the thing that was the transformation and the calling, right? Like that is usually like that seeking God is that like higher power, is that fulfillment of like whatever it is that you're running from or chasing, like to fill this void, right? That's a great story. And it trailed us nonetheless.
I know. Man, so
but from there, was it like pretty cut and dry? Like, was that the saving grace?
I mean, I still
or did you go back and forth?
I still struggled. So like I still had a senior trip with all my girls, and he was like, he's like, I don't want you to go, because he and I started dating about a month or two later. I mean,
I was gonna ask that. Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, well, I already paid for it. I feel pretty strong and like my new convictions. And I wasn't. I was like a little baby. I had no defense. And so I ended up getting drunk and like making poor decisions. And then the girls that I was with are like, you're such a hypocrite. You actually, this isn't real. You're just doing it for a guy, all the things. And so, there was some back and forth, but, then I went to college and it was like, I went to CU Boulder and it was pretty cut and dry for me. It was like, I could either, try to like dip a toe into the party scene, which I had already proven to myself, I cannot do that. And now I have this man that's kind of helping me, stay within those boundaries, which I really cared about him a lot. Or I have, this opportunity to be like a Christian woman and get a new start. And so I started really just diving in. I got involved in a church up there, and there's like a lot of like Christian groups on campus. And it was still weird because I had a few girlfriends from high school that were that chose to go to CU, and they were totally in the scene that I kind of would have gone into, which is like sorority, and they're partying and drinking and all that stuff. And I'm, like over here trying to live this like straight edge Christian life. And there was still like this little like imposter syndrome going on behind my like head. Like, this isn't real. This isn't going to last. Like I even got baptized and I truly did have a heart transformation. But it was it was just still confusing. It was so new. Right. And, I just felt incredibly, confused still. But it was a new way of life. Right. And so I, started, not rebelling, but just those voices came in again, and it felt all too familiar, like the hey, you're not good enough, all this stuff. And I never wanted to share that, right? Because I was like, well, I have this new life. I should really, this should have gone away, but it only took about a year to come back. And I didn't share any of it. I just didn't. I didn't know how to. And I was like a little scared to actually, like, sometimes, like, if you say something, it like makes it real. Now I know, when you share something, it really cuts it in half, and like things grow in the dark. But to speed the story up, he and I got engaged on my 19th birthday. Yeah, my parents were like, this is crazy. It's kind of moving fast, but we like this version of her. But I mean, and he was like, I'll take care of her. He was only 1 year older than me. And he was going to college too. And he's like, I'll take care
And
of her.
he was a son of a pastor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, it's safe. I think from the parent sense, like, not too bad.
No, yeah. I mean, my parents are big on education. So their biggest thing was she's got to graduate.
I see.
Right? And so he's like, yeah. And we both worked very hard. He was going to college. I was going to college. We both worked incredibly hard through college. And, I didn't really struggle with drinking. I had like one or two like times where I went out with classmates and got just obliterated. And
did he know about those times?
Yeah, he had to come get me. And he was like, what are you doing? Like, he's always known I'm an alcoholic. I didn't. I was, I just really believed that I was like just trying to like have one foot in the party life, one foot in the like Christian life. And then he really, I just would get so annoyed because we would go places and I would have one drink trying to like moderate. And the thing with me is that when I have one, I have this mental obsession that is then kicked off and it hijacks my brain. And I can't think about anything else. The conversations that you and I are having are muted because I am then obsessed with, okay, are they going to drink theirs? Like, I wonder if I could just like take everybody's plates to the sink because they like left half glasses of wine. And I'd be like, and would they notice if I like drank or like, I mean, it hijacked my whole brain. And it got to the point where it was so freaking annoying. Like, I was just like, I'm not doing it. Like, I can't. And so then I started running like pretty obsessively. And I just had this like, and then I was, pouring it into schoolwork, and that all served me actually, because I was able to graduate and I did really well and I was super fit. But I didn't address what was the underlying issue, right? And so when I graduated and I got a great job, I was like a sales manager for this like call center software company, and like I don't even know how I got this position. I was making $100,000, right? Or like 89 grand, I think was my base salary. And that was 15 years ago. So that was crazy.
That's incredible.
Yeah. They sent me to a sales conference, and I was like, there was open bar and they were all drinking. And I was like, why not? It's been, maybe 2 years since I drank. Like, I'm sure I'm fine. I knew I wasn't. I knew what was going to pop off. But like the first like few times I did it, I was able to hold it, not tell my husband, and there was no consequences, right? I was drinking. They thought I was the life of the party. I felt a part of. I was like, this is cool. Like, I have this great life over here, and I can do this, and nobody really knows. And then it was like 6 months in, and the last thing I remember was sitting at the hotel bar talking to this guy. And then the next morning I woke up in his bed, and I was like, oh no, like this is where things get sticky, because before it was all fun and games. I wasn't hurting anyone, even though I totally was. But now there's consequences, right? And so I felt terrible. I went home. I told my husband, I was like, I don't know what happened. Not one thought ran through my head that said I should stop drinking or that this is because of alcohol.
Oh, wow.
Literally.
Wow.
I had believed maybe somebody put something in my drink, because there's no way I would have cheated on my husband. Like, I loved him so much, like my everything. Yeah, I still had this double life. I mean, mind you, I'm like 22 at this time, so
which
I'm
is
very
incredible.
I'm very young, and I'm still just trying to find myself. I don't ever want to use age as an excuse or alcohol as an excuse for my behavior, but I truly didn't understand what I was up against. And I'm allergic to alcohol. Like, I do not know what is going to happen when I put it in my body. Like, if somebody has an allergy to shellfish, or let's say peanuts, it's not something that's wrong with the peanuts or the shellfish. It's how their body metabolizes it, right?
Yeah.
And so I can't like think myself out of, well, if I just have one. Like, if you're allergic to shellfish, it doesn't matter if it's, shellfish on a Friday night, or
you don't just have one.
exactly. And you can't really control what your body does. If your throat closes, because your body then takes over. It's this physical reaction. Well, it's very similar that what happens to me, except it's a mental reaction. And that's why alcoholism is self-diagnosed, because only I know what happens when I have one. If I get very honest with myself and I start taking inventory of my thoughts, I know, holy cow, the obsession has been kicked off, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how many I drink after that. It doesn't matter, if I go to jail, if I get DUIs, none of that makes me an alcoholic. What truly makes me bodily and mentally different is I have this allergy to alcohol, that when I have one, I have this mental obsession that now kicks off sometimes a series of very erratic behavior, or sometimes I'm able to have enough willpower to only have one, and it's like awful, right?
Yeah.
And so, I think that's like my biggest heart for people is they believe that, alcohol has something to do with the quantity that you take, like, or, DUIs or the consequences. And truly, it has nothing to do with that. Alcoholism is, a mental and physical diagnosis, and that it's just like any other allergy. It doesn't make alcohol bad. It's just how your body metabolizes it. Pretty quickly if you're allergic to peanuts, right?
Yeah.
Pretty quickly if you're allergic to something, you break out in hives. Well, I break out in handcuffs, right?
Yeah.
and that's just the reality, is that, I had to truly understand, holy cow, like, abstinence is absolutely essential, but it doesn't actually fix the underlying issue, which is also, that I wake up every day an alcoholic, right? I have this brain that also tells me, hey, like, you could probably just have just one. And it's crazy, because alcoholism is one of the only diseases that tells you, like, as a symptom of the disease, tells you that you don't have it. So imagine if you're like in, the hospital bed and you're dying of leukemia, and it's like, yep, here are the symptoms of leukemia, like hair loss, white blood cell count goes down, weight loss. You think you don't have it. It's like, what? Like, you're sitting in the hospital bed convincing yourself, nope, this isn't real. Like, it really is a mental disorder. And so we have to treat it accordingly. And I do believe, in the 12-step programs, we have this triangle because we believe it's threefold. We believe it's mental, physical, and spiritual. And what happens if you're on a stool and it's got 3 legs and you're only treating the physical, right? Well, what happens is I tip over, and the physical doesn't get me very far. But if I can do mental, physical, and spiritual, and I can have balance, that's when I'm actually upright and I'm able to see clearly. But then every single day I wake up and my mind resets. And it's like yesterday I did all this work to, like, I go to AA meetings and I work with a sponsor and I help other people, and I, get physically fit, and I read my Bible and I connect with God, and I, say throughout the day, thy will be done, thy will be done. And then in the morning, it's like the reset button is hit, and it's like, oh my gosh, I got to do all that work again, because my brain tells me, hey, today's going to be different. right?
Yeah.
And so just
Yeah.
to be at like status quo, I do have a lot of work to do. Like before we got on our call, I have an hour of work I need to do. And some people say,
Mm.
that's normal. That's what, Christians should be doing, connecting in with God. But I believe that my disease is fatal and progressive and that it wants me dead, but it will settle for me drunk, which means that if
Mm.
I don't do this work, it's not so easy as just reading the Bible and connecting with God. I really have to be working with other alcoholics. I really have to
Yeah.
be sharing the message of hope and telling people, hey, we can do this, but we do it together one day at a time.
Yeah. On that message, I'm loving everything you're sharing. This is a great segue into telling us what you founded, because I see your journey on Instagram all the time. But I know you founded several businesses, as you said in your bio, that are multi-million-dollar companies.
Yeah.
And I think you helping other people is profound, which is why I wanted you to share your story here of all the work
Yeah.
that you're doing for other people.
Thank
Can
you.
you tell us a little bit
Sure.
more about what you
Yeah.
founded in California?
Yeah. So I had always, again, high achiever, worked in the corporate world. And I was about a year and a half sober, and I was still working for a software company. I didn't go to rehab. I just got to a place where my family intervened and they said, hey, I moved to California to be close to my brother. He was starting a family here. He met an incredible woman. They were having babies, and I was like, I should go be auntie, really kind of hoping that a move would change me, right? And I was working in the corporate world, and my brother then got a front row seat to what I was doing. And he said, sis, you got to straighten up. I don't want you around the family. I don't want you around anybody. This isn't okay. And I was
Mm.
31 at the time. And I reached out to a woman at my gym who helped me really understand that I needed to take some direction and try something I'd never tried before, which is a 12-step program. And she said, hey, if you can't get 7 days sober or abstinent, you should probably look into rehab. And I was like, oh my goodness, no, because then everyone will know. And what would I do
Mm.
with my animals? And everyone hates me right now. Nobody's going to watch my dogs. Like, I'll lose my job, all the things, all the fear. And so I just plummeted into a 12-step program. God is so good that I have this little apartment in Southern California, and I'm 2 miles away from something called an Alano Club, which is a place where they have meetings all day long. So I just immersed myself in meetings and the fellowship. I was so broken, so desperate. And I was able to get some sobriety. And it was working. And then I was able to be happy. And then after about a year, I was waking up every day just so unfulfilled. And I was like, God, there
Mm.
has to be more than this. And so I started seeking. And I believe wholeheartedly in mentors. I had a mentor that I met through the program. And I was just letting him know, I just wake up every day kind of feeling like, is this it? And he said, that's God speaking to you, and pay attention to that. He's like, what are the things that make you so happy? I was like, honestly, I love working with other addicts and alcoholics. But I don't think that that's a place I can make money. And he's like, oh, well, you should open a rehab. I was like, I didn't go to rehab. How would I do that? And so I went and I worked in a rehab. I quit my job. I was making, several $100,000 a year. I had savings, so I wasn't really worried about that. But I jumped out and took the risk, and I went and worked in a rehab for $17 an hour. And I was very honest with them. I said, hey guys, I just want to let you know I'm probably going to start my own. I'm here to learn as much as I can. And they're like, you're cute. Okay. So I started working. I'd never been to rehab, so I had no idea what to expect. And I was like, my first day, I was like in shock. Like, I can't believe this is not only so fun, this is so fulfilling. I can't believe you can make money doing this. And I started a plan working on my own. And then I actually met a guy in an AA meeting. We shared a similar passion. He was a little bit younger than me, but he loved to he was very fun. He's a Sagittarius, so you already know. And they love to have fun. And, he got 1 year sober. We went to Vegas. Like, we wanted to tell people, look, Like, sobriety is cool and fun, and you can still live your life. Actually, life starts when you get sober. And so he and I created a facility in 2018, our own inpatient facility, called Laguna Shores Behavioral Health. And we have since grown, and we have added four more or three more facilities. They're
Wow.
inpatient detox facilities, and they have honestly transformed our lives. They're 6-bed inpatient facilities, and they're my everything. They're here in Southern California, and we get to like help a ton of people. And I never thought that this would be a way for me to make a living, but also, have profit and purpose be such a perfect match. Truly, I get to go in and I get to share my experience with them. I've been doing it since 2018, so really I've delegated a lot. Now I just get to do what I want, which is go love on the clients. I take them to horses because equine therapy is my other passion besides animals. Besides dogs. And I have just really, truly, I wake up every day. I'm like, is this really my life? Like, how is this real? I get to help people. I get to, it's a very lucrative business. We have grown slowly because we've done it right. There's been a lot of people here in Southern California that have made shortcuts. A lot of them are in jail now. And we've added over 7 years. We are at 3 facilities. We just opened. I'm part owner of a 40-bed facility in Wisconsin. That's the first out of state venture we've done. I'm
Congratulations.
very minority owner, but I've been out
That's
there.
huge.
And now that's really kind of the next step is looking at where else we can bring this incredible California recovery, not California sober, California recovery, because we have 2,500 meetings a week within 5 miles. Like, recovery is like, if you cannot get sober here, like, you just don't want it, right? We are passionate about this is a lifestyle, and you can go to barbecues, you can go to, every single day we do something active. We're hiking, we're, volleyball games, we have sober poker nights. It's a lifestyle out here. And people a lot of times will fly in from out of state. Everybody wants to get sober on the beach. So we definitely have no problem with marketing, and we have some beautiful facilities, and they will stay because they start to build a life here, and they start to feel a part of something, that they've never felt before. And they start to like discover, wow, like, I didn't know that I could go to a sporting event and stay sober. I didn't know that I could go to, the like, even just like really silly things like movies. Like, we're here to not just show people like how to stop and like get some physical abstinence from drugs and alcohol, but how to build a life that you no longer want to escape. And a lot of times that requires, I just tell them, say yes to everything. No matter where, like, we're going axe throwing, we're going rock climbing, we're going, deep sea fishing. Like, just say yes. I don't care if you don't like fishing. Like, you don't actually know anything. Okay, so shut your mouth.
You know what that reminds me of, Katherine? And thank you for sharing that story. I loved hearing the beginnings of all that. And congratulations on multiple facilities. That's incredible. But I wanted to say what you're doing of showing a life that you don't have to escape from. It reminds me of Tabitha Brown's book a little bit of Do a New Thing, right? And I love Tabitha Brown, but she's always like, do a new thing. Like, you don't know. You haven't immersed yourself into these things of your life that you don't know if you're going to like. And so when you challenge yourself to do a new thing, and she says it's as small as brushing your teeth with your left hand if you're right, or doing your hair in a different style, or literally, going to a new country or taking a trip by yourself, whatever it is, it could be big or small. It's just challenging yourself on a weekly basis to try a new thing. You try it on for size and you say that. You say yes. You don't know these opportunities in front of you as a human. You don't know what your life could be without the drugs and alcohol. And you don't even know what you're going to enjoy and what people you might meet when you're there. And I think that's incredible to say, just say yes, right? Like something's presented to you and you just go, sure, I'll try it out, right? You do a new thing and then you see if it's for you or not, but maybe it could lead you to another thing that is.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally been my experience is just, like if you want what somebody has, you do what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty simple. I started sharing about my recovery journey on social media honestly about 3 years ago because I was bored. I brought on some other business partners who really took a lot of the work that I was doing. And I mean, they're just incredible. They've helped me like become a grown-up company. They helped us professionalize. They've been such amazing assets. And I started to travel quite a bit. I went to South America, Central America, just doing a lot of things. But I started sharing about my sober journey. And, I have a lot of people on Instagram who reach out and they're like, how do I do it? And I'm like, listen, there is no one way, right? If there was one way, then I'd be an absolute billionaire because I would monetize it. And I would, bottle it and sell it. Also, because I absolutely think sobriety is a gift that you give your future self. However, there's lots of people that get sober through fitness. There's lots of people that get sober through church. There's lots of people that, get sober through, maybe they do ayahuasca or ibogaine or whatever. I mean, I don't really care. But what I do is I share my experience, right? And my experience is through a 12-step fellowship. My experience is that I do this one day at a time and that I'm truly able to, it's not about the drugs and the alcohol being put down. It's about what am I picking up instead, right? And I had no idea who I was. At 31, I was a shell of a human. I had failed relationships, failed businesses. I really was this person who I thought, would have this this wholeness because I had done the right action when it came to God, getting baptized, marrying a preacher's son, really going to church, getting involved in that. But I needed to do some additional underlying work, right? Like for me, those things weren't sustainable. They provided some temporary relief, but what has happened is that not only have I gained long-term sobriety, but I have a life of purpose. I have a life of happiness and I have fulfillment because I do these things, right? And so when somebody asks me, what do I do to get sober? One of the first things I say is I say, find somebody close to you who is sober and do what they do. Proximity is power, right? I don't care if they're, doing it through music or church or whatever, but if you can just tag along with that person, and that's the methodology I've used in my businesses and everything is I've found people when I started my businesses, I found people who had what I wanted and I paid them to mentor me. And I said, how do I do it? I'm going to do and I just modeled what they did. Right. But the difference is that, I get to add my own flavor throughout the and I get to add the fact that my facilities are animal friendly, that, we take them to sporting events that like people know, like we're like, traditionally really fun and luxury. And I have the best food and everybody has, queen size beds and a huge TV. And we have these incredible facilities. But I also have every single one of my staff members has either been through my program and I've hired them at 6 months, or they are people who are in recovery. And so they totally understand. They can relate when you're like, hey, I'm feeling better. I have 3 days sober and I think I got this. And they're like, it's cool. I felt the same way. And I'm so glad I didn't leave because now I have 6 years sobriety. I have my kid back. I have an apartment, and like, who better to share that experience than, somebody that's sitting on the other side of the desk from them who has been there just a few maybe months or years prior. So, it's just been so incredible to be able to share honestly and openly about this, and to, say like there is no one way. I wholeheartedly believe that if you are thinking about getting sober, that it's probably time, and that even if it's just for 30 days, maybe you just want to try it for a week. Maybe it's just a season to see. And I have a mentor who's like, you should be, this woman who's sharing about how poisonous alcohol is, and, that it ages you. And I'm not that girl, right? If I could still do alcohol and cocaine recreationally, I promise you I'd be drunk and high all the time. But that's why I can't do it, right? I'm sorry, Jesus, it's true. Like I loved, the feeling of being high on coke, and I loved the feeling of alcohol, but it's just temporary. And so, another thing that people reach out to, and they're like, hey, I don't think it's a problem, but I don't know. And I'm like, well, just pay attention to it, and if you don't want to die and you don't want to kill yourself yet, you're probably not done. Like, there is nothing worse than stopping too soon, because the things that you're going to need to do is going to take some level of desperation that you're probably not ready for if you haven't lost everything. If your life is still manageable and you're like, hey, I'm good, I'm doing it on the weekends, but I don't know, I'm missing work sometimes. I'm like, all right, I'm like, keep doing it. Run it until the wheels fall off. Seriously, do it until you want to die, because only then will you do what it takes. Because getting sober is not easy. It's facing all of these things that we haven't actually looked at for years. I mean, this is childhood stuff. This is stuff that, 5, 6 years old, I saw that I don't remember. Like, not that I come from trauma, but I'm a highly sensitive individual. So a paper cut can be trauma to me if I don't process it correctly, right? And I mean, it's countercultural. It's going to challenge you. It's going to push you. And if you're not ready to make some sacrifices and sack up, it's probably not going to be sustainable. So, I tell people, hey, if your life right now is manageable, just do it till you want to kill yourself. And they're shocked when I say that. But I mean, you got to be that desperate. You got to be that desperate to change your life. I'm not a kind of this, kind of that. I am an all in.
So you don't want to be in the middle. It's an extreme on either side. Yep.
Yeah. So,
I have one question. So this is fascinating. Your story is talking about extremes, goes on both sides of extremes. And I'm curious, and just so you know, I'm not a man of faith. Like, I have different philosophy. But one thing that I've been asking myself during this whole conversation is, you have a very strong sense of how the world works. Like, not just from a humanity perspective, but also like how economics work, how money flows. Where does that come from? Because I meet a lot of folks, people from faith typically are not in that realm to the degree that you are, right? Because I can feel it. Like, there is a really sense of like, we're going to get this shit to the moon. And I just feel it from you, from every word you say. Where does that come from?
Yeah, it's a great question, Matt. And I appreciate so much that you're not a man of faith, and that you can share that, and we can have like an open conversation about this, because I believe wholeheartedly in understanding other people's perspectives. I've just been super ambitious and driven and hungry since I was a little girl. And, I know astrology is kind of a taboo topic for believers, but I'm a Capricorn, right? And I'm probably textbook Capricorn when it comes to, I'm driven. I believe so much in mentorship. I'm an savage reader. I have TVs at my house, but they haven't been on in years. All I do is, if I could possibly be awake longer, and
Me too.
learn more. I am either like in a podcast. I've also paid, one of the masterminds I'm in right now, it's $60,000 a year. And you have to be invited into it, and you have to make a certain level of income to be a part of it. But those women are millionaires and billionaires. And, I was taught you pay to be in rooms until people pay to be in rooms with you. And I'm at the place now where people pay to be in rooms with me. Again, proximity is power. But I also, to be totally honest, wanted to be a millionaire since I was little. And I studied, where are the most millionaires? Well, they're in New York and California. And I just happen to like the weather better in California. So
fascinating.
Our environment is everything, right? Like a goldfish will stay small if you keep it in a small bowl. You put a goldfish in a large tank and it gets this big. People don't understand. Like you hang around some shitty place in Ohio and you're wondering why you're driving a 1989, Toyota versus coming here and you see Lambos on every corner and beautiful people. And, monetary stuff is not everything, but I've always believed that more income equals more impact. And we can have far more influence with more impact and more income. Like you just can. It's just.
So that's interesting. I did the reverse. So I rather go high impact and not think about the money. And then what happened was, it just so happened, if you focus really heavily on impact, the revenue follows. But I know the reverse works too. If you focus on like really trying, like, I think I can resonate on that too. It's like, I always try to be the B player in a room because I believe everyone else, like, I want to learn. Like, I'm not trying to beat anyone. I just want to be like, if I'm the A person in the room, there's nothing to gain from being around. And to me, it's like a kind of a waste of time. And I love the idea of like, you want to be not just in a bigger tank, you want to be the B player in the room while there's a bunch of A's, but also there's different ways to look at it. I think you can either go from impact and the finances will follow, or the reverse. You can really aim like, hey, we got to crush these goals. And just what happens is you can take that money and either it's already make an impact intrinsically, or the impact comes because now you have capital to deploy.
Really. Yeah.
I love that. And I think too, to your note on being the B player, Matt, I make a joke about this all the time, but I've quit every networking and peer-to-peer group so far that I've been in because I felt I didn't have enough of the A players, and I'm like giving this advice out and then I'm not getting fed. And I'm like, I haven't found my tribe. And then I've kind of started speaking up a bit more and networking more, and I'm finding more of my tribe. So I have this other group from the Northeast that I think is valuable, and I'm getting some amazing, Katherine, like what you said, like I'm finding businesses that I want to be in, and these personal brands. I don't know if we've covered this on other episodes, but I've been heavily working on my personal brand and thought leadership brand right now, and not generating the businesses right now because I'm working on the brain of Anne. So now I'm seeking and craving other women who are influencers and thought leaders and personal brands, and they get paid 20 plus K to just show up in a room to speak. And like, those are my tribe, because that's where I'm navigating my efforts to monetize the brand of Anne. Yeah. I think it's so valuable and important when you find your people who are the A players. And Matt, that's so important what you said, to say, I want to be the B or the C player in that room, and I need to learn from the A. But if I show up and I'm always that A player and people are asking me for advice and how you did it, and I need to pick your brain, and I'm giving away all this time for free, which is what I've been doing the last few years, going, wait a second, who's feeding me? And so now I'm changing my tank. And in changing my tank, I'm finding those players that are feeding me. And I'm like, yes, this is how I'm growing. That's how you grow exponentially, is finding those A players. I think we all share that same mindset, which is really cool in the founding space. If you're going to found something and then really grow it, you have to find those A players.
It's not just A players. So like, it doesn't have to be in business. So I'll give you an example like this. I think, as Katherine, you were talking, like my energy level is like gotten like, I'm going to get off this call. I'm probably going to crush a bunch of business shit, because like I am so excited now. And it has nothing to do with like, we're not talking like really business, but we're just kind of just chatting. And it doesn't have to be necessarily the A player in like business. It could just be even energy. I play table tennis. I'm usually I'm often the worst one. The second I beat people, I change clubs or I change groups because once you beat everyone, it's very boring. And even there, like I can feed off energy. I can feed off, there's other things as like, wow, I just gained so much being around. It's like, so it doesn't have to be like, and it doesn't have to be like A player in business. I think it's just like, you just have to be the B player all the time. It's the same reason why I take cold showers. Like, I don't like being comfortable. The second you're comfortable, you just go into this slow decline. And that is like, I go back to the feeling of wanting to move away out of my parents' home. That's what that feeling looks like. It's like, I never want to be in that slow decline where it's like, well, I might as well just die. Like, I'm already there. I might just end it. Mm-hmm. I need to be shipping as fast, as hard as possible, or I'll die trying.
Yep. And I want to check in real quick. Katherine, I think you said you needed to be done here in 2 minutes. Is that true? Do you still have that hard stop?
Yes.
Okay. So as much passion as we're getting into, which I love all of this, I think we need to start ending it. That does it for OnlyFounders today, guys. Thank you, Katherine, so much for joining us. We had such a fun time talking with you and hearing your story. Thanks for sharing everything that you did with us and our audience. And now I want to ask, where can everybody, the people, find you, Katherine, online if they want to connect and engage?
Yeah. So my Instagram is soberkat, SOBERKATT. And same handle for TikTok. Also, I have a website, www.soberkat.com. I've created a sobriety journal. I've created some other things. I'll be launching a book here very soon, and am really looking to expand. I have a free online sober community, which you can also find on my website under community. And it's amazing. My life is so good. My website is Laguna Shores Behavioral Health. And we are here in Dana Point, Southern California. And we're excited. I'm excited. So
fantastic. Yeah, you're just on the up and up. You're kind of in still the early stages, even though you've seen phenomenal growth. Yeah. I think you're in the early stages of the potential of everything that you are touching and working on. So congratulations on all your success.
Thank you.
Thank you for being an amazing founder. Thank you for sharing all of your story with us. I call that in my brand, share your freak.
Oh,
you have shared your freak.
I love
the things that will freak other people out when they hear this about you. I think that's the beautiful part of helping people with your own story. So
thank you, Katherine. I really appreciate you jumping on.
Of course. Thank you.